Praise the Lord, everybody. I want you to get up on your feet, clap your hands, do your dance. If God has been good to you, I want you to give him a praise. Hey, here we go.
Hey, has God been good to you? Has he given you a second chance? Well, Second Chance is a ministry of Second Church in Dorchester, a church of the Nazarene. So please join us as we hear from our senior pastor, Reverend Dr. Victor Price, as he shares the word and ministers a second chance.
See, and the experience of some of us coming from a terrible background of blatant sin and overton quoted sin and have been involved in all this mess and having that break and that transformation, having realized how bad our lives has been, how sinful and guilty we are, and coming to Christ and Christ creating the transformation, there is that conversion change that we can realize, and we can make a comparison and say, this is what I used to be and this is what Christ has made me, and I remember when Christ changed me. Now we can do that, but when a child grows up within the Christian context and have not been exposed or have not been involved in all these things that has to be cleansed from our life, that child grows up having to learn appreciation of Jesus in a different light, not as one who has saved me from the mess of my sin, but maybe one who has kept me from getting into that mess, but may not know what the mess is all about. And that child has to now learn about Jesus Christ in a different perspective, an appreciation for Christ, not from an experience of the negative to the positive, an experience of how Christ has kept me, who Christ is, how Christ has preserved me from the mess of others. It's not always easy, you know. It's not always easy to be, and even though I pray for my two sons, hoping that they will continue in the faith, that I know that they may not be able to fully understand what it is to really be saved from the mess of sin, the mess of my own life experiences. The Irish have the concept, the Irish, what they do sometimes, when the child is about 16, they let the child loose and say, no, experience the world and allow them to feel what it is, and then hopefully you come back into the fold. We don't trust that for our kids. I wouldn't even recommend that. You say, go find what the world is like, because I know what the mess is like on the outside. But how do I preach and teach an appreciation for Christ to those who have very little to compare with, who are not coming from a messed up life and saying, oh, God save me. Oh, God save me. Some of the most difficult people to preach to are Christians. You're those who analyze everything you say and believe that they know what's right. You're those who have grown up with the Christian concept and then sometimes have conceptualized a God in their own image, and they're comfortable with the God that they have created. I don't challenge that concept of the God, because I have been living and being that person all these years, and I have done well so far, and God has blessed me, and God has told me and said to me all these things, and I have been a Christian for so long. So you don't come with a concept of God that is different to the concept that I have formulated for over 15 years. Some of the most difficult people to even see come back to Christ are the backsliders. Have you ever heard a backslider sing gospel songs when he's drunk? Some of the sweetest gospel songs you can hear from a drunk one, because not only is he singing it, but he's putting every little thing into it. He can modulate his voice and put some little spice in it, because the alcohol, that other spirit, is connecting and pushing him in the direction that he wouldn't have gone normally. And you would share with me, he says to you, everything that you tell me I already know. When I worked in prison, it was one of the most engaging experiences, and it taught me so much that here was I in prison preaching to people, right, who have already come to the conclusion that they are wrong and they need to be made right. They are in a system where they are being, quote unquote, paying the price for what they've done, and they realize to be able to come out of that mess and be able to come out of that place where I have to be able to be transformed into something that someone who's looking on can see and say he has had a tremendous change in his life. So I don't have to convince them about how sinful and how wretched the condition is. I don't have to do that. All I have to do is preach a solution. For the Christian, you have to sometimes convince the Christian he is wrong before you can show him how right he ought to be.
Thank you so much for fellowshipping with us today. Second Church in Dorchester, a Church of the Nazarene, is located at 600 Washington Street in the Codman Square section of Dorchester, Massachusetts, where Reverend Dr. Victor A. Price is our senior pastor. Second Church in Dorchester is a Christian community that seeks communion with God and the conversion of souls as we strive towards continuous growth in all areas of life.